sunlight beamed through the long windows, falling on my face and waking me up. I squinted and flinched in exasperation like a vampire. Bringing my hands to my eyes, I adjusted to the light and looked around the room. As if I was suffering from sudden amnesia, I blinked several times, wondering what I was doing back in my old room. I was quickly pulled out from my trance as I felt an arm tightening around my waist. I looked down to see Marcus leaning his head on my chest, holding me tightly from my waist. My fingers were wrapped through his soft, silky hair. Our legs were entangled in the dark sheets, making it impossible for me to get down. I slowly ran my fingers through his soft hair, caressing it, something I've always wanted to do. He stirred slightly and pressed closer to my chest. This reminded me of the night when we slept together in his house. He was mad as soon as he woke up, leading me to move out of his house for 2 weeks, and then to almost get murdered. I discreetly untangled myself from his arms and got off the bed. Taking a quick shower, I quickly slipped down the stairs, not wanting him to wake up. I heard voices in the living room as I reached the last step. Aggressive voices, to be exact. I edged closer to the pillar to see what was happening. A girl with strawberry blonde hair and a black motorbike jacket was dragging my brother by his ear. "Let go of my ear, you idiot!" my brother yelled, while trying to free his ear from the girl's grip. "Pay for what you did, dumbass!" the girl yelled back furiously. Hey, cool down! How about we talk while having some tea?" My mother desperately tried to control the situation. Tea, is this freaking England?" the girl yelled while tightening her grip on my brother's ear. "You're going to pay for this!" With that, Jake lunged at the girl, pulling her hair with his hand. The girl mirrored his actions as she clasped his hair with both her hands. They were both yelling and screaming at each other like little girls. My father stood at the corner of the room, face-palming himself. The girl suddenly took her helmet off the sofa and started beating Jake with it. "You shameless human being!" she snarled. I heard loud steps running down the stairs in a hurry. I looked behind me to see a fully dressed Marcus looking alarmed. His hair was messy and the top buttons of his shirt were undone. He must have changed as soon as he heard the ruckus down here. I turned my head back to the commotion as I heard the girl give out a war cry before hitting Jake squarely on the head with her helmet. Jake toppled to the floor, dragging the girl with him, and she fell on top of him. Their faces were only inches apart. It would have been romantic if they were not trying to kill each other. You! Before she could finish, the housemaids came and lifted the girl up. My father rushed to the scene and stopped Jake before he started fighting again. "What's happening?" Marcus whispered, and I shrugged my shoulders. "What's going on here?" My father's loud voice boomed through living room. "He bumped into my bike and broke the headlight," she said, pointing an accusing finger at my brother. "You did something worse," he scoffed back. "Yes, that's because you ignored what you did and drove away like nothing happened." "That's because it doesn't cost much to fix a freaking headlight." "That's 'cause you are freaking rich, you spoiled brat. You can go and fix your car with your endless money. Don't you dare speak about my precious car with your filthy mouth." "What happened to your car?" I asked. "Look." Jake pointed to the car parked in front of the porch. I walked out, and suddenly I laughed out loud. The word idiot was scratched on Jake's car door in big bold letters. Someone had finally knocked some sense into my idiot of a brother. My brother gave me a murderous glare before he spoke. "I bumped into her crappy bike yesterday and she followed me like a crazy stalker. I caught her doing this in the morning." He gestured his hands to his car and whined in dejection. "Crappy bike? What did you say?" She lunged at him and kicked him where the sun doesn't shine. I laughed again as Jake bent down, clutching his manhood. "I probably won't be able to have kids, you freaking evil witch!" he roared in pain. Calm down, let's settle this like normal human beings." I looked behind me to see my father trying to take control of the situation. Behind my father was Marcus trying to stifle a laugh with his hand. He looked at me and his eyes beamed in happiness. He held his hand out for me to hold as we went to a couch to observe what was going to happen. I was more than happy to see Marcus comfortable with me rather than lashing out at me like he did the last time we slept together in the same bed. I edged closer to him, embracing the warmth radiating from his body. I looked down to see how perfectly our hands fit together. I also wore my star bracelet this morning, which I had kept safely in my purse. I glanced up to see him looking at the bracelet with his piercing green eyes. The corners of his lips curled into a small smile as he caught me staring at him. My cheeks blushed a deep shade of red at his mischievous grin. I quickly looked away and cleared my throat to compose myself. "Sit, both of you," my dad ordered. Jake and the girl both sat down facing each other angrily. The girl folded her arms and kept one leg on the other, trying to look apathetic. "How did you know where I live, you crazy stalker?" "I was just passing by and I happened to see your hideous car. And by the way, I have a good memory, so I remembered your hideous car's plate number," the girl scoffed. "Liar." Before he continued, my dad held his hand up, telling him to keep quiet. "I'm sorry for what my son has done. I apologize to you on his behalf. How much does it cost to repair the headlight?" my dad asked in a serious tone. "I don't need your money." "Oh, then why are you here, my dear?" my mother chirped in. Dear, my family is insane," Jake complained furiously, earning a glare from my mom. "I need an apology." She nudged her chin towards Jake. "From him?" "Poofed. I can't believe you said that. You're insane. Why would I—" Jake tried talking while his eyes teared up with laughter. "Stop it," my mom ordered with fire blazing in her eyes. "I'll make him apologize soon. Give us some time. I will also pay for your bike. Dad, didn't you see my car?" "Shh!" My mother hushed him. "Can I have your contact details?" "I don't need your money, but an apology would be nice. Then I would apologize for his car too. But to be honest, he deserved it." "You piece of shh! Here's my number." She ignored him and took a pen out and wrote her number on my palm since I was sitting closest to her. I grinned happily while looking at the crazy girl in front me. I liked her. I had a feeling that she would be fun to hang out with. "Can I know your name?" I asked her as my eyes gleamed hope. "Blair." With that, she took off waving at my brother, who scoffed angrily. Something tells me that I will see her again. The morning passed quickly, and my ears were starting to hurt hearing Jake's annoying voice as he complained about having to apologize to Blair over and over again. He was complaining about how our parents were not treating him right. He complained about how embarrassed he was in front of a stranger because of them. He kept talking and talking until my mother threatened that she would make her blueberry pie. That shut him up quicker than I thought it would. We both feared her awful blueberry pie. Our mother thinks we hate it because it's too tasty since it's mixed with motherly love. She thinks we purposely hate it to defy her. What's with the blueberry pie? I would love it, eat it. Jake and I both gaped at Marcus in horror. "Really?" "Oh, I will make it for sure then." My mother clapped her hands happily. "You are asking for death, brother. Rest in peace." Jake patted his shoulder in sympathy. We both had planned to leave in the evening since we had a lot of work to do. I also needed to convince Marcus to give me his hotel. I was sitting on the sofa as our phones began blaring loudly. All of us looked confused since our phones were ringing at the same time. I looked at mine to see Sarah calling me. Marcus was sitting next to me, and I saw that Steve was calling him. I answered the call to hear a panicked voice speaking in a rush. "Sarah, I don't understand you. Speak slowly." "Ma'am, our headquarters is on fire." Marcus drove us back to Brooklyn as fast as we could. I got off the car to see my entire building on fire, all the way from the ground floor to the very top, smoke rising up to the clouds, darkening the sky above us. A large crowd had gathered around the building as the firefighters tried to diminish the blazing fire which was engulfing the entire city. I saw a few of my staff outside crying and hugging each other for comfort. It was a weekend, and thankfully none of my staff were hurt. "Ma'am?" Anna came running, tears streaming down her eyes. "What happened?" I asked in disbelief. "We don't know, ma'am, but the police said this was not an accident. Ma'am, who did this? Why?" I hugged her as she choked on her own sobs. My employees came running as they saw me. My head started aching as they repeatedly asked me the same question. "What do we do now?" I had no idea what we were supposed to. I had many staff members, and there were no buildings available in Brooklyn that were capable of containing that many people. Our new designs for the upcoming contest were all burning in the fire. 55. My head started throbbing in pain, and soon my legs gave out, dragging me to the ground. Suddenly I felt strong hands on my back, holding me steadily, telling me everything would be all right. I glanced at Marcus and saw him looking at me with worry. He ran his thumb along my cheek and tucked a piece of loose hair behind my ear. Craving for his comfort, I quickly jumped up and wrapped my arms around his broad shoulders. I buried my face in his chest and he tensed up. But then I felt him slowly wrap his arms around me. He kept his chin on my head and caressed my hair while patting my back with his other hand. Then he helped me stand up and took me back to the car. I saw him talking with some police officers, and the media was all around him trying to get answers. For the first time, I felt relieved that I married him. He was someone who could take care of me when I was at my worst. Even though he himself was struggling, he was strong and responsible. I felt relieved that I didn't have to bear this all by myself. I felt relieved that I had someone to lean on. He soon came inside the car and looked at me with sympathy. "We'll think of something, okay?" He patted my cheek and I nodded already, thankful for his presence here. Grief welled up within me as I looked at my hard work burning into ashes. The costumes we had been preparing for months were all gone. Now we have to start over and work restlessly. Our rivals will look down upon us, shareholders will lose faith in us. With one weakness, we would fall down. "I will invest in your company so that your stocks won't fall." He tried reassuring me, but I shook my head. It was my problem, and I had to overcome it by myself. I didn't want to drag him to something I couldn't handle. Marcus opened his mouth to say something, but closed it as my phone rang. I looked at it to see Sarah calling me. "Ma'am, the shareholders are not confident enough that we would win the contest. Most of them are now pulling out their shares. If they keep on doing this, we will be facing bankruptcy." Sarah stifled her cries as she spoke. Before I could speak, my phone was snatched from my hand. "Sarah, don't worry. My company will do something. We are now a joint cooperation. I'm not going to let you fall." With that, he ended the call and drove us back to his house. I went inside and saw Madeline giving me a sympathetic smile. I quickly ran up the stairs and hugged her. I was happy that she had finally arrived. I missed her so much, and her mere presence relieved me. Marcus soon went upstairs, and I saw him calling several people while pacing back and forth impatiently. It wasn't going to be easy for me to rise back up. Being one of the youngest female billionaires in the world was hard. The business world is full of sexists, and they are constantly seeking for a chance to bring me down. Marcus worked the rest of the evening in his office upstairs, and I spent the day talking to the stubborn people of RJ who were not willing to help me. After dinner, I went back to my room and snuggled under the sheets looking for warmth. As my eyelids started to close, I saw a familiar figure standing outside my door. I blinked several times to clear my vision and saw Marcus standing at the door looking down. His face was contorted as if he was having an argument with himself. I slowly lifted my sheets, inviting him to bed with me. I didn't even know what I was doing, but all I knew was that I wanted him near me, his strong arms wrapped around me, telling me that I wasn't alone. His eyes sparkled in contentment as he saw my gesture. He quickly slid under the sheets and pressed me closer to him. Our faces were only inches apart, our foreheads almost touching as his warm breath fanned my cheeks. My lips curled into a small smile, and I wrapped my arms around his torso and leaned my head against his chest. We were always there for each other during hard times. Whenever I saw him, I got mixed emotions. I couldn't even comprehend what I was feeling. I felt hurt when he walked away, but I felt happy when he came near. Were we only comfort buddies? For some reason unbeknownst to me, I wished we were something more. But I knew better he would never have feelings for me. In the end, I would be the one to get hurt if I couldn't control my feelings. I looked up and his eyes lingered on mine for a long time before he started playing with my hair, curling and uncurling it between his fingers. He murmured something quietly, but before I could ask what it was, sleep dragged me under. I woke up to an empty bed. Marcus was not in bed with me, and it felt as if he had left a long time ago. My mood suddenly soured, and I laid on my bed for several minutes thinking about what could have gone wrong. Did I do something wrong? Why are we always 1 step forward and then 2 steps backward? My phone rang and I was too heartbroken to pick it up. It rang again annoyingly and I groaned loudly before stretching my hand to pick it up. It was Sarah, and I was not in the mood for more bad news. "What?" I said sleepily. "We are saved." I pulled the phone away from my ear as Sarah screamed happily. "What? Mr. Anderson bought half of our shares and now you are co-owners. What? You are so annoying." I could literally sense her eye roll through the phone. "Since Mr. Anderson joined in, all the shareholders stopped pulling their shares. To be exact, more people bought shares. They seemed to be happy that a strong guy like Mr. Anderson joined the business. It made them feel safer about their money." Sexist. I felt relieved that Marcus had helped me, but slightly angry that he didn't tell me. We were definitely going to have a talk. "So what do we do now?" "We still have no place." "Oh, we have rented a building for half of our staff. The rest will be scattered between RJ and our Manhattan branch temporarily." "What would I do without you?" I exhaled a loud breath in relief. "Yep. Now, lazy Daisy, get your ass off the bed and get dressed to meet your loving husband." "Why would I meet Marcus? And he probably hates me because he left early in the morning today." How naive can you be? He left in the morning to have a meeting with RJ and our main shareholders. He called me and told me that he didn't want to make you worry early in the morning." "You are lying," I laughed out loud. "No, I'm not, ha 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 ha," she laughed back sarcastically. I rolled my eyes even though she couldn't see it. "So, why are we going to him? Let's go to the building where we will be working for the time being." "Who said you were going to go? I said the building is for half of our employees, not you or me," she said with a voice laced with irritation. "What?" "Hey, aren't I the boss here?" I asked in frustration. "Well, you and Mr. Anderson. And since you are co-owners, you will be working with him in his office." "What?" "And I will get to see Steve," she mumbled to herself. "What? Oh, come on. Get dressed, ma'am. Let's go." Even though I had been here many times, I was still amazed by the height of this building. "Did I tell you that I want this?" Yeah. You already told me the first time you came here. I was with 20 of my staff who would be working with me in Marcus's company. I was walking to the entrance when I saw my dad walking out. "Dad, what are you doing here?" RJ had a meeting with Marcus. Marcus is a very good kid. He takes care of you a lot. I made a wise choice. Dad patted my shoulder and walked away, earning a scowl from me. I turned my head back to the entrance and saw Marcus talking with few people in the lobby. As soon as he saw me, he walked towards me. "Hey, I'm sorry I left early in the morning. And I'm sorry that I didn't tell you about the co-owner thing." Marcus scratched the nape of his neck, looking guilty. "Well, I thought you would at least talk to me about it since it's my company after all." I crossed my arms and tried to look angry, but failed seeing the regret in his eyes. "I'm sorry. It's fine, and thank you." There was no point in being angry. He saved my company, and the least I could do was thank him. Marcus looked over my shoulder to speak to my staff. "Well, everything is already prepared for you. You may go up and find the places you will be working in." "Yours too." He gave me a small nod and left without another word. Behind him came Steve with a huge grin on his face. His eyes were dazzling as he looked at Sarah. He scurried towards us and gave Sarah a peck on the cheek. She giggled loudly as she looked down, blushing. "What's going on?" Anna asked, looking confused. "Only God knows." I shook my head as I walked to the elevator. Steve guided us to where we would be staying. Marcus's employees seemed to be happy to be working with my employees, although they gave me weird looks. And I was more than shocked when I saw an extra table placed in Marcus's room. "Why did you take me here?" I asked, gesturing to Marcus's room. "'Cause you will be working here?" Steve grinned merrily. "I'm sure there are plenty of other rooms in this building." I kept my hands on my hips and narrowed my eyes. "Yes, but since the contest is also coming up, and the fact that you are co-owners means that Mr. Anderson will also be helping you with your work." "So are you seriously telling me to work with him in the same room?" You are married to him." Steve scrunched his nose in confusion. I blinked awkwardly. "True. Okay, thank you, Steve." I sauntered towards my table as Steve left. I quickly logged into our company's site and downloaded the necessary papers that burned in the fire. I printed them out and arranged them neatly on my table. I was working on my laptop when Marcus walked in. I didn't know if he regretted coming into my room last night. Maybe he came because I was miserable and not because he wanted to. So I didn't raise my head and pretended to be absorbed in my work. 2 hours passed and I slowly glanced at Marcus. He was staring back at me, and out of embarrassment, I quickly looked away and cleared my throat. "Are you angry with me?" he asked with his eyebrows raised. "What? No, I'm not." "Why would I be?" I stuttered and gave an awkward laugh, still not meeting his eyes. "Then why aren't you looking at me?" I slowly raised my head and looked at him, only to see him staring at me with daring eyes. He sighed loudly before walking up to me. He knelt down beside me and searched my eyes for answers. I was entranced by his eyes. My heart leaped a beat whenever he looked at me, and I get butterflies in my stomach whenever I saw him. I was scared of my own feelings. It was something that I couldn't put into words. I was confused about why I was feeling this way. He clearly said he wanted a divorce after a year, but I couldn't help myself as I involuntarily bit my lip. His eyes widened momentarily as some emotion flashed across his eyes. Either I suck at reading faces, or he is good at hiding his emotions. Did I do something? I shook my head, looking down. He raised my chin with his fingers so that our eyes would meet. He slightly stroked my cheek with his thumb, and I felt my heart pounding at a swift pace. "Why are you doing this?" "We are getting divorced in a year," I asked in a hushed tone. Something that looked like hurt crossed his eyes for a second. "We are not. What do you mean?" My eyes narrowed in confusion. Your company is not stable. so we can't divorce within a year. So that was it. He didn't want to divorce me because my company was leaning on him. He was just kind-hearted enough to help a friend in need. Hiding my sorrow, I quickly turned my head to my laptop and started working. I have some work to do. I guess you do too, I said in a monotonous tone. I saw him hesitate for a bit before he stood up and walked to his table. From the corner of my eye, I saw him staring at me. His eyes lingered on me for a while before he sighed and went back to his work. A few hours passed and we still had 1 hour left until lunch. I remembered where Marcus took me for coffee, so I got up from my seat and walked to his door. I saw Marcus looking at me, but I simply ignored him and made my way to the coffee machine. As I opened the door, I shrieked and looked away, covering my eyes with my hands. Sarah and Steve were making out like there was no tomorrow. I saw Marcus walking towards me in a hurry, looking alarmed. "What?" He touched my elbow and asked me, worry laced in his voice. I brought my hands down and saw his eyes gleaming in realization as he looked behind me. "You two are dating?" I looked at them as Marcus asked them in a shocked tone. Sarah was blushing crimson red. Steve was smirking at Sarah, seeing her blushing furiously. She harshly elbowed his stomach, pushing him away, and he groaned in pain. "Yes," Steve chirped happily, earning an angry glare from Sarah. She looked at me and gave me an apologetic smile. "You better not cheat on her, or I'll murder you and dump your body in the East River." Steve gulped nervously, looking back and forth between me and Marcus as I threatened him. I heard a chuckle beside me, and I turned to see Marcus smiling at me with a glint of mischief in his eyes. "Let's get some coffee before they start smooching again." Marcus wrapped his arm around my waist and led me to the coffee machine. I looked up to see him staring down at me. A small smile curled his lips. "Let's go before they started smooching," Steve said loudly before hurrying out the door as if a rabid dog was chasing him. "That piece of—" I started. Marcus laughed lightly and handed me a cup of coffee. "Don't mind him. He likes teasing people." "Then they are a match made in heaven," I said with an eye roll. It was late evening, and I was standing at the entrance of the building waiting for my dearest secretary to pick me up. I arrived here with Sarah in the morning, but now she was nowhere to be seen. Probably cuddling that blonde koala bear. Suddenly, a sleek black car came into my sight. Its windows rolled down, and Marcus's head popped out. "You coming?" Yeah, sure. Why not?" I gave out a dry laugh and got in. The drive was silent, but I saw him glancing at me several times, and every time he looked, I shifted uncomfortably in the seat. Within few minutes, we arrived at his house, and I greeted Madeline before going to my room. But Marcus suddenly held my hand and stopped me. "Where are you going?" "To my room." I pointed to my room and said in an obvious tone, "Come to mine." My eyes widened in shock. "But my things—" Before I could finish, Marcus dragged me to his room. "I already told Madeline to move your things to my room." "You did, yeah, He ran his hand through his hair. Is it okay?" "Well," I cut off by the sight of his room. A large king-size bed sat on the middle next to the thick white curtains covering the long glass windows. The wall behind the bed was painted in black, while the others in white. Against one wall was a white couch inlaid with fine silk, while on another hanged a large TV in between the two tall bookshelves. I had never properly been in his room before. The last time I came in here, he shouted at me to get out. I was surprised by how much things had changed since then. Now I'm officially here. That's good, right? I walked to the closet and saw my clothes neatly placed beside his. "Are you fine with it, or—" "No, I'm fine." I gave him a small smile and his face beamed. "I'll take a shower and come." He took his clothes from the closet and walked to the bathroom. After he came, I went inside and again went back into my old habits of talking to the mirror. Even though I said it was okay, I was feeling a lot embarrassed and also happy about getting invited to sleep in his room. After a shower, I changed into a creme t-shirt and blue shorts. "You can do this, Camilla. You can do this," I murmured to myself. I opened the bathroom door and saw Marcus already on the bed working on his laptop. He patted the bed beside him, and I walked slowly towards him while playing with the hem of my t-shirt. As I got on the bed, he closed his laptop and crept under the sheets next to me. He stared at me with something close to adoration glinting in his eyes. I must be crazy. From that, I came to the conclusion that I suck at reading faces. To break the awkward silence between us, I decided to speak. "Did you have any nightmares yesterday?" He shook his head in a no. "How?" He cupped my cheek with his hand and stroked it slightly with his thumb. "You are my cure," he whispered softly. I squinted my eyes in confusion, and the corners of his lips twitched into a small smile. My billionaire cure? I woke up to deep green eyes staring at me. I blinked my eyes until my vision cleared, earning a chuckle from Marcus. 49. "Hey." 5. I was so sleepy that I didn't even think properly before snuggling into the warm chest in front of me. 44. A small laugh echoed through the room and my eyes widened, realizing what I had just done. I quickly leaned back and gave Marcus an apologetic smile. "We need to get going. The Boltons are coming today." 23. I groaned in annoyance and strangled my face with the pillow. Clara Bolton also runs a fashion designing company. She would also be competing in the contest, and I hated her with all my life and soul. I've known her since high school, and she was the school bitch. She slept with literally anyone that would bring her to fame. But I was the smart kid and also the school's star student, so she and I never got along. 22. And then she hated me again since I was more successful in life than her. The people who actually run her company were her parents, because she didn't know anything about the business world. 2. I vaguely remember that she flirted with Marcus back in Florida. That pissed me off more now than ever before. 18. I can't believe that I need to meet Clara, I groaned again, sprawling on the sheets. Why, she's nice. 207. Did he just freaking say that I sat up and crossed my arms in front of my chest, trying to look as intimidating as possible? 1. If you even think of speaking to her, you're dead meat. 170. With that, I went to the bathroom without glancing back at Marcus. I knew he was smirking. I could sense it through the back of my head. 1. I quickly closed the door with a loud thud out of embarrassment. I couldn't believe that I just said that. I sounded like a jealous wife. After a shower, I quickly sprinted downstairs so that I wouldn't have to meet Marcus. 4. I gulped my breakfast in a rush, but my mood soured, realizing that I probably had to drive to the company in his car. Mine is good and well polished, but anyways, I had to meet him in office. So let's just get it over with. Marcus came into the kitchen all dressed up in his suit, looking as gorgeous as ever. He took a seat across me and ate his food, but the tension between us was too much. Gosh, this is embarrassing. I slowly excused myself and walked out the door to his car, unwilling to take in any more awkwardness. As I got in, he slid in after me and started the engine. 7. Are you jealous? 177. He smirked and I blushed a deep shade of red. Well, why would I be jealous? I can't believe you just asked that. You must be insane, I stuttered while trying to utter some sane words. 114. Miserably failing. I looked away and kept my face glued to the window. We finally arrived at his company, and I quickly got out to breathe fresh, tensionless air. After composing myself, I walked up the stairs to the entrance, but was met with the most annoying person in the whole wide world. Jake. 25. "What are you doing here?" I hissed. "Oh, me?" he asked, pointing to himself. "Oh, I was just checking when I'll be getting a niece or a nephew." My jaw dropped to the floor at his words. He smirked at me and looked over my shoulder to speak to Marcus. "Hey, Marcus, when am I getting—" I smacked his lips with my hands and pushed him inside before he could utter a single word. 85. I gave him a death glare, telling him to shut up before walking to the elevator, dragging him behind me. We worked for some time, Jake all in a business mood, talking about a hotel with Marcus. This was a rare side of Jake that I only saw when he was working. Sometimes it made me wonder whether he had multiple personality disorder. "How about we get some coffee from the cafe near the company?" Marcus suggested, and we all agreed since we needed something better than the cheap office coffee. First, Marcus held my hand as we crossed the road to reach the cafe on the other side of the road. It was filled with customers and almost no empty seats, but seeing Marcus, the manager came running and gave us a spot near the window. 2. "You come here often?" "No, it's been years, but the manager still remembers me." "Of course he remembers you. You are in every business magazine," I scoffed as we sat down. I stood in the queue to order our coffee. Marcus and Jake sat by the window immersed in conversation, but Marcus saw me staring at them and raised his eyebrows playfully. I rolled my eyes and looked ahead. I felt the man behind me in the queue standing closer to me than necessary. I looked behind me and frowned, but the man kept his head down, his face shadowed due to his black cap. 97. I ignored his close presence and faced the front again, but I felt someone squeezing my butt. 170. I instantly turned my head to scream at the man, but behind the man I saw Marcus, his jaw clenched in anger as his eyes blazed with a vicious fire. 53. He stood up to punch the man, but someone else kicked him in the groin and he toppled to the floor. 5. The person lifted a stool and hit his back with it. He groaned in pain as the person kicked and placed a foot on the hand that he had touched me with. 24. I looked up to see who my savior was, and I saw a girl with strawberry blonde hair. "You filthy piece of shit! I'm gonna take you to the police!" She bent to the floor and grabbed the man by his collar, then slammed him onto the table that Jake was sitting at. 90 knee. Jake jumped back, his mouth hanging wide open in shock. 19. "Hey, loser." She winked at Jake before slapping the man on his cheek. 2 police officers who were on the street came running as the manager informed them of the situation. 78. They held him by his wrist and handcuffed him. "He groped a woman. Take this filthy bastard away," Blair ordered the police, earning a chuckle from me. She was one of the strongest and definitely the feistiest woman I had ever seen. She was under no man. She was fully in control of who she was. As I stared at her, I felt Marcus's presence beside me. He kept his hand on my back, looking angry and worried. I touched his shoulder and assured him that I was fine. "Wow, you are scary," Jake said in shock, looking at the smirking Blair. "Yes, my dear. You messed with the wrong person," she said while dusting off her hands. I quickly ran and hugged her with a huge grin on my face. "You are my savior," I chirped happily. "Well, I like you because you are the only sane person in this family. You and your lover," she said, pointing behind me at Marcus. My cheeks blushed at the words lover. "We are not lovers," I said with an awkward laugh. "Then what are you?" she asked with her eyebrows raised in confusion. "Husband and wife," I said with another laugh, making things worse. "Then aren't you supposed to be lovers?" My family matters are none of your concern. Jake saved me quickly, and I silently thanked him. The least you can do now is thank me. Blair stuck her tongue out like a child. Jake didn't open his mouth to speak, but I knew that he appreciated what she did for me. So what are you doing here? I asked. Oh, I work here. Really cool. What are you doing here? I work there. I jerked my chin at the skyscraper across the street. Employees. No, it's his company, I said, looking at Marcus, who stood closely behind me. At my response, Blair's jaw dropped in shock. I knew you guys were rich, but not rich. I gave a small laugh at her words. So you want to join us for coffee? Nah. My shift just ended and I have another part-time job in just 15 minutes, she said, looking at the watch on her wrist. It was nice to see the both of you, but now I'm jinxed because I saw his face, she said, pointing at Jake, who was frowning at her. I gotta go now. Bye. She waved at us and sprinted out of the cafe like the energetic girl she was. After having coffee, we decided to head back to the company. Marcus again held my hand protectively while crossing the road. I bit my lip slightly, trying to hide the grin forming on my lips. I'm not a kid. Don't care. He dragged me to the other side of the road and pulled me closer with a mischievous grin on his lips. He put his arm around my shoulder and guided me inside. As we passed the entrance, I saw a blonde girl wearing a short pink silk dress and 5-inch high heels talking with a woman in the lobby. The woman said something and the girl suddenly turned around to us. Seeing Marcus, her lips curled into a wide grin. I felt fire blazing in every inch of my body as I recognized the woman in front of me. Clara Bolton. Marcus, she yelled as she came running towards us. She suddenly wrapped her filthy arms around Marcus, and leaning in, she gave him a kiss on the lips. Marcus took a step back, flabbergasted. He quickly untangled her arms and pushed her away. What the hell, Marcus? Are you treating me like this because you're married? You even came to me 3 days before you married her. Clara pointed at me, and I suddenly felt my eyes watering. I quickly turned and walked away from them. I couldn't bear to look at him. Even though there was no connection between us back then, I thought he would have at least respected the concept of marriage. He knew he was marrying me, yet he had to go for someone. That's why they were so friendly back in Florida. Who knows what they did behind my back when I was there? I considered Marcus to be a much more mature and responsible person, and not someone who seeks pleasure instead of solutions. And even if he did, I had no problem. But it's Clara, and that boiled my blood. This was not the first time she stole something mine, and I'm afraid she would again. Hey, Camilla! Marcus came running and grabbed me by my hand. Get your hands off of me! I yanked my hand back, still not meeting his eyes. He didn't listen and forcefully dragged me to an empty room near the lobby. He locked the door. I scoffed and sat on a chair nearby. Marcus slowly walked towards me and knelt in front of me. He held my hands with both of his as he stared at me in guilt. What now? Go and play with your nice booty call, I said while looking away. I knew he saw the tears in my eyes, but I still didn't want to look at him. I liked Marcus a lot more than I've ever liked my previous boyfriends. They just used me, but Marcus became someone special. His relationship with Clara hurt me more than I thought it would, and it strangely made me feel jealous. I'm sorry. At first, I didn't want this marriage. I did it to get it out of my mind. But I promise I never did anything like that from the moment I put this ring on your finger, he said, while brushing his fingers against my wedding ring. I was someone who firmly believed in marriage. Respect and honesty were the most important factors to make the bond last. He knew I didn't like her, and he could have told me about the relationship they had today morning. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was nothing, but you never know until you feel it yourself. And right now my heart was aching. Involuntarily, a single tear escaped my eyes at his words. I heard him sigh before he stood up. He slowly leaned in and kissed the tear on my cheek. My eyes widened in surprise as I looked into his eyes. He wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me off the chair, making me stand up. He looked at me and different kinds of emotions flashed across his eyes. Regret, pain, and sorrow. He kissed another tear that fell on my cheeks, and this time the kiss lasted longer, lingering on my cheek as my body shivered under his tender touch. He cupped my face with both of his hands and slightly lifted my head so that our eyes would meet. "Don't cry. I don't like seeing you cry," he whispered in a broken voice. He wrapped his arms around me and pulled me closer to him. I kept my head on his shoulder and tried to hide my tear-filled eyes. His eyes fluttered shut, inhaling my scent as he stroked my hair, mumbling an apology. I was pressed to his chest tightly, and I felt our wild hearts beating at a swift pace, demanding to be let out. His smile made me forget the world. His words gave me a purpose in life. His touch ignited a sensation within me. His mere presence made me feel that I wasn't alone. I suddenly realized what this feeling was that I had been having all this time. I love him. I love Marcus Anderson. My chest heaved in relief as if I had just untangled a tight knot. I knew why I was overreacting. I was jealous and selfish because I wanted him all to myself. Leaning back, I looked at him through my glossy eyes. Wiping my tears with his thumb, he leaned closer and kissed my forehead. Then he took a handkerchief out of his pocket and started wiping my tear-stained face. "You seriously have a handkerchief in your pocket?" I said with a small chuckle, and he nodded his head in return. "Strawberry vegetarian and a handkerchief." "You surprise me a lot," I said in a mocking tone as I dragged him out of the room. "You're not angry, right?" he asked pleadingly. "Is that your favorite question these days, Mr.?" I joked again, trying to lighten up the mood. "Well, you get angry a lot. Is it that time of the month again?" he asked sarcastically with a small smirk playing on his lips. "You did not just ask me that. You didn't. You are dead." I hit him with my fist as he tried to cover himself, laughing hilariously. "What's going on?" Clara stood in front of us looking confused. Marcus held my hand tightly and pulled me to his chest. "Come to my office room. Then you can speak with us," Marcus said in a flat tone and walked past her, dragging me along with him. I was sitting next to Marcus as Clara sat in front of us. Her secretary was speaking the entire time, probably because she didn't understand anything that was going on. The contest was to be held 3 weeks from now on. The events of the first week would be held in a cruise ship of the RJ's. The rest of the month will be in Marcus's hotel, which he surprisingly agreed to give to us. Clara was eyeing Marcus the entire time. I was very uncomfortable sitting in front of her, knowing that she had once been intimate with my husband. "You have any good movies to watch?" Marcus asked me as Clara left with her support squad. "I think we have a contest to prepare for," I said with a playful smile on my lips. "We don't have to work at night." I laughed, enjoying this side of his personality, and his lips curled into a small smile as he stared at me with amusement. "So do you know who set fire to the building?" "The police said that there might be a connection between the fire and the person who attacked you." "I had enemies, but not to the point that they want to kill me. Most were business rivals that I pissed off, but I didn't deem them to be killers." I turned my head to speak to Marcus, but he was staring out the window and his fists were clenched in anger. He seemed to be thinking about something, and my gut told me that he knew who was responsible for this. Before I could ask him what he was thinking, he turned and looked at me with worry-filled eyes. "Stay with me always. It's dangerous for you to be alone. This person wants you dead, and I can't let that happen. Promise me you won't go anywhere without me," he asked unexpectedly. "I promise." "Good." He tucked a piece of loose hair behind my ear, and his fingers lingered on my face for a while, stroking it gently. I wanted to scream to the world that I loved him, but I was afraid of rejection. What if all these gestures were out of good heart and not because he loved me? Different kinds of thoughts bombarded me as I questioned his feelings for me. The closer I got to him, the more I suffered. He raised his eyebrows in confusion, trying to figure out what I was thinking, like the emotional wrecking ball I am. I looked away and walked to my table. I worked restlessly the entire day because we had to design our dresses all over again. My staff from RJ sent me the sketches they made that needed to be given to the tailoring department. We were in a rush, but I had hope that my employees would do their best as always. I walked to Marcus's car with him, and we drove back home in silence. I knew he was wondering why I was bipolar. His simple gestures evoked butterflies in my stomach, made me fall for him over and over again, but I was afraid of this strange feeling, even though it comforted me. After dinner, we both went to his room. I laid on the bed and turned my back to him, but he came closer and wrapped his arms around my waist, snuggling me closer to his body. He buried his face in the crook of my neck and breathed in my scent. His thumb traced circles on my stomach as he draped his leg over mine. I buried my face in the pillow and bit my lip, trying to stop them from trembling. I yearned for his touch, his warmth, his words, but I was scared that he didn't feel the same towards me. Scared that he would push me away just like he did before. We were always one step forwards, 2 steps backwards. I was afraid that just 3 simple words would change the relationship that we had. Madeline told me that he had never loved anyone. What if he never wanted to love anyone ever? What if my confession takes us back to square one? Did I do something? He whispered in my ear, hurt evident in his voice. "No, nothing. Let's sleep." I felt him hesitate before giving me a small peck on my cheek as I slowly closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep.